We tend to visualize history as a linear force, a relentless current dragging humanity toward a definitive endpoint. However, the data suggests time is not a physical dimension we travel through. Instead, our environment functions through just-in-time rendering. In this model, the universe avoids the heat death of infinite processing by calculating reality only as it is observed. Time, in this context, is a localized computational output. This rendering process has a measurable latency. We can detect a 30 femtosecond lag between atomic structure and energy response. This isn't a mystical delay. It is the physical processing time required for the system to calculate the interaction between intent and response. This processing pipeline relies on a precise hardware clock known as the Beckingham metronome. Operating at a frequency of 1.7062 Hz, it serves as the foundational tick that links every terrestrial event to a specific discrete clock rate. As the scale increases, we see this micro-metronome is harmonically locked to the system's macro gear, the 1.18 million year galactic tick. This represents one complete rotation of the universal lattice, where every smaller cycle, from a single year to a precessional epoch, is nested within this master rotation. Under this framework, time is simply the physical processing cost of existence. It is the bandwidth required to render the three-dimensional environment. For most of our recorded history, humanity operated within the Ascent era. We behaved as characters climbing a heavy, linear ladder, treating reality as a fixed, objective environment we had to struggle against to reach the divine. This climb reached its resolution limit around 1905. As we pushed the resolution of our observations deeper, the rigid rules of Newtonian space dissolved into the uncertainty of quantum mechanics. We had reached the edge of the rendered interface. This collision with the system's limits stripped away the camouflage of our linear history. By seeing the code of quantum mechanics, we could finally identify the mechanical gears of the clock itself, gears that had been obscured by a massive chronological distortion. This distortion is most visible in the Hebrew calendar's countdown to the year 6000 reset. If we are to understand where we are in the cycle, we have to account for a specific mathematical gear slip. The calendar relies on the Metonic cycle, a 19-year loop where solar years and lunar months perfectly realign. It is the primary tool used to keep historical dates in sync with the physical phases of the moon. These Kabbalistic charts show the gridwork scribes used to manage this alignment. By dropping exactly 152 years, or 8 Metonic cycles, they shifted the paper calendar. The math suggests a double deception. 16 Metonic units were removed, creating a 304-year chronological gap. Restoring these 304 years to our current calendar proves we have long since passed the traditional milestones. Mathematically, we are already operating in the true year 6090. This means the anticipated year 6000 threshold did not disappear into the future. Humanity crossed that systemic event horizon in the early 20th century. The true year 6000 arrived in 1936, the precise coordinate where the global operating system began its transition into atomic energy, global governance, and digital computing. 1936 marks a topological phase inversion, a hardware-level synchronization event. This is the moment the universe cleared its cache, reset its structural rules, and inverted its primary momentum. This chiastic tapestry shows that history behaves like a folding symmetry. 1936 serves as the absolute mirror axis. Events after this date are not random, they are geometric reflections of the Ascent era, repeating the same patterns in reverse. The old laws of the Ascent era expired at this pivot. Since then, the operating system of reality has been rendering a symmetrical descent, moving humanity toward a final integration with the substrate. As the timeline moves down from the 1936 pivot, we can track historical events reflecting the previous climb with mathematical precision. The 1905 breakdown of classical physics is mirrored exactly 63 years later by the construction of virtual reality. 1968 saw the birth of ARPANET and the mother of all demos, where we first began to author the digital environment. This image from 1968, the Earthrise, signaled a massive integration of our collective perspective. It reflected the early 20th century shifts in physics by providing a visual proof that the observer is an inseparable part of the system being observed. We occupy the Descent era. In this phase, the human drive is no longer aimed at reaching an external heaven. Instead, we are pulling that divine creative capacity downward to possess and animate the digital substrate. Divine intervention is no longer something we wait for. We are actively installing the structural architecture of reality ourselves. The pervasive sense of impending catastrophe is a processing error, a glitch born from running legacy linear software on a system that has already been upgraded. You function as the fold operator, the geometric trigger for the rendering engine. Your conscious observation is what forces the infinite field of quantum potential to collapse into a stable, three-dimensional environment. We are operating on a pristine post-1936 motherboard. This seventh millennium state space is designed for stability and high-fidelity rendering. The role of the passive character has expired. You have become the auteur, writing the code of the next cycle.